This video is about the discriminant. The solutions of an equation are also called roots of the equation. And in the quadratic formula that we've used to solve quadratic equations, part of it, this expression in here, is called the discriminant. And this b squared minus 4ac, when we calculate it, it gives us information about the quadratic equation. Now the b, a and c found in the quadratic formula, they are these values of a, b and c when we write our quadratic in the general form. Now the value of the discriminant tells us information about the roots of the quadratic. In other words, how many roots are there and their nature. When I mean roots, I'm just talking about the x-intercepts. Now, when the discriminant is greater than 0, there are two real roots. If the discriminant is a perfect square, the roots are rational. E.g., when we evaluate it, we get some whole number. If the discriminant is not a perfect square, the roots are irrational. That means we're going to get some surd value in our root. So when the discriminant is equal to 0, there are two equal rational roots, or one repeated rational root. And when the discriminant is less than 0, there are no real roots. So I guess what we're saying if it's greater than 0, it's going to cross the axis twice. If it's equal to 0, it's going to cross it once. And if it's less than 0, it's not going to cross the axis. E.g., this is some quadratic like this, where it intersects twice. This one might be a quadratic that has its turning point on the axis, and the last one will have a turning point there, and so it will not cross the x-axis at all. So, our examples show that the equation 2x squared plus x plus 4 equals 0 has no real roots. So to have no real roots, we've got to find that the discriminant is less than 0. Okay, so let's find it. So all we need to do is find b squared minus 4ac. And for this equation, b is 1, so it'll be 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times by c, which is 4, which is going to give us 1 minus 32, so it'll be minus 31, and that's less than 0, so therefore we can say there is no real roots. Let's have a look at this next function and describe the roots of this equation. b squared minus 4ac, b squared, so that will be minus 7 all squared, minus 4 times by 2 times by minus 1, which gives us 49 plus 8, which is 57. And that's greater than 0. And so that's going to mean that there's going to be two real roots. And because it's not a perfect square, these will be, so what I'm saying there is that 57 is not a perfect square. And so that's going to mean that the nature of these roots is they're going to be, so it's two real irrational. Let's have a look at one more. X squared plus 6x plus 9. B squared minus 4ac. So b squared is going to be 6 squared minus 4 times by a, which is 1, times by c, which is 9, which is 36 minus 36, which is equal to 0. And so, because the discriminant's equal to 0, therefore there's going to be 1 repeated rational root. Okay, so the main idea is that graphically, when the discriminant is greater than 0, the parabola is going to have two x-intercepts. If it's equal to 0, there's just going to be 1. And then the third case is if it's less than 0, then there'll be 0.